It's the most wonderful time of the year, everybody. NHL 24 ratings are out. Celebrate or not. Depends on the quality of this list. We have the top 20 left and right wings and their ratings revealed for NHL 24. Of course, I'll have subsequent videos out from when we learn about centers, defenders, and goaltenders. But I'm going to go through and kind of name off who I think is right where they should be, who's higher or lower than they should be, who's not on the list at all the fun stuff that you would expect from someone who edits rosters on a yearly basis. The first thing to mention here, though, for those of you that saw this site when they first released it, the attributes are going to look a little bit different. As it was explained to both Tactics and I, good friend of the channel, Tactics. We both had videos prepared, only to then find out, it's not fully up to date. I don't know how the hell that happens. Critique them, and rightfully so, because that's unacceptable. But for those of you that saw the list early on, you would have seen some just wonky stuff, like Johnny Gaudreau with 85 body checking, or there was some weird stuff that has been sorted back out, but that does not mean that everything is right on the money. Let's get down to business here. I want to talk about the left wings first. Starting off, the highest rated left wing in the game will be Matthew Tkachuk. Is he a top 5 winger in the NHL? Yes. Is he the best winger in the NHL? Debatable. It is not surprising to see him here for two reasons. Apparently, number one, there was a Twitter vote about who the highest rated player should be. I missed that. But based off of his performance in the playoffs at the Florida Panthers, when he was on the ice and not getting ejected from games, he was absolutely fantastic. It was his breakout moment these playoffs this past postseason, even though the Florida Panthers fell short in the Stanley Cup final. I can't disagree with him being the number one at this stage. Like I said, he is a top 5 winger. He's in the top 5. I'm happy. You can make adjustments from there. I can't disagree with it. I can disagree with Artemi Panarin being the second best left wing in the game. Once upon a time, was Artemi Panarin a top 5 winger in the league? Yes. Was it all that long ago? Not necessarily. Is he a top 5 winger in the NHL right now? No, he is not. And the primary reason for that is that right there, that 90 defensive awareness. He is not a great defensive player. I don't think it takes analytics to know that. I think the eye test works out just fine to prove that point. He has really Selke caliber defensive awareness, if you think about it. Mark Stone, who we'll talk about in a minute, is at a 95. It is higher than Pavel Buchnevich, who has been one of the more underrated defensive forwards in the NHL for the past couple of seasons. I've talked about my trip to Vancouver this past August quite a bit. The whole EA Community Day thing, myself and almost every other creator you can think of happened to be there. I spent a lot of that visit over the course of 2 days. We're talking 4 hours or so, talking directly to the leads for franchise mode, be a pro as well, and in regards to a lot of the roster stuff. It was Tactics and I. He joked about it. We practically cornered them and grilled them with questions, and I promise he and I are both pushing for the return of the old rating system. For those who do not know what it was like roughly 10 years ago now, previously, you used to not need Artemi Panarin to have a 90 defensive awareness to have a super high overall. It put more importance into the player type and the attributes that should matter to that player type for them to be effective. So really, Panarin would have been able to have the offensive abilities without needing 93 stick checking and 90 defensive awareness to get that high overall, and overall, which is too high at this point anyway. It's a legacy rating. It's okay. You can drop them down. Players regress. It happens. I'm begging for that old rating system to come back because it would solve some of the issues. You could still get him up to this ridiculous rating if you wanted without having him look like the Russian version of Patrice Bergeron at this stage. Again, it just kind of speaks to how the rating scale is it's not good right now, and it results in player cards like this. And again, Panarin at this stage, very much in that top 10 argument, top 20, no doubt. He is not the second best left wing in the NHL anymore. There is an argument that he is just getting into that top 10 at this stage. Disagree with me if you will. It is something, of course, that is subjective, but I just don't see it at this stage. What I do see is Jason Robertson in the top 3 on the left wing side, as he absolutely should be. He is, for my money, the best winger in the NHL right now. Certainly in my top 5, he is the best winger in the NHL right now. At least full-time winger, because obviously, you have like Draisaitl that plays wing sometimes and guys like that. But Jason Robertson's insane. And I'm glad that him being in Dallas, a market that doesn't always kind of get the respect that they deserve in terms of, hey, you're good players. And he doesn't have the greatest name value in the league right now, but Jason Robertson is insane. He is so, so good. Should be higher rated than Artemi Panarin and Matthew Tkachuk, but good to see him at a 92. Kirill Kaprizov, top 5 winger, hands down, no debate. I don't quite understand how he doesn't have a gold when some other players that we're about to talk about do. It's a little bit weird to me. Again, defensive awareness, the stick checking, higher than it should be to get him to that rating. I hate it. I'm not going to complain about it for everybody, but that's just what it is. Alex Ovechkin, Hall of Famer if he retires today. Waive the waiting time, the weight limit, just put him in the Hall of Fame tomorrow. He is not a 91 overall anymore. He should not have 86 defensive awareness. He probably shouldn't be as fast as he is. Again, gold 1T, yes, that's fine. He is probably going to break Wayne Gretzky's record as the greatest goal scorer in the history of the game. It is okay to drop people to a more realistic overall for now, as opposed to keeping them to where they once were. We're lucky he's not a 93 at this stage. Again, top 10, yes. You could even argue because of, certain aspects of his game, that he could even be on the cusp of it, but it's Alex Ovechkin, and with those abilities, and with the shooting attributes, he's still going to be an absolute force, even if he's an 88 and not a 91. So, again, For that reason as well, Brad Marchand should not be the 6th best left winger in the game. Is he in the conversation for top 10? Yes. Top 20? No doubt. But the Bruins' new captain being 6th is... It's a smidge high at this stage. And again, once upon a time, 91 overall Brad Marchand would have been right on the money. It feels like a bit of a legacy rating for him as well. Not that I'm complaining. It's my captain, but you get the point. It is good to see Clayton Keller get some respect. Again, has a gold, but Kaprizov doesn't. A little bit surprising. But is Clayton Keller a top 5 winger in the league? Not necessarily. Is he top 10? Absolutely. Clayton Keller is, or at the very least, he's in that conversation of, all right, here's a big group of players. They could be top 10. He's just on the outside looking in. It's good regardless to see him get that respect that he deserves. He does deserve to be up there. Gonna get heat for this one. Brady Tkachuk. I think he's riding the name value that his brother provided. I like Brady Tkachuk a lot. I would take him on the Boston Bruins tomorrow. It's a little bit much at this stage of his career and where he's been at this stage. It's a little bit much. There are other players that are more proven, more consistent. I think he gets a boost from EA for that name value alone. Do I think he will be deserving of an 89 overall in the very near future? Yes. Is it that time right now? My opinion, no, it isn't. There are some other players that can push, I feel like, more reasonably for a top 10 spot. It's not the end of the world. It is what it is. My life goes on. It doesn't ruin my day. But it does make the game look a bit wonky. Makes it look like you're rating people off of name value instead of performance. That's all I'm going to say. Johnny Gaudreau didn't have the best season in Columbus. Is he still deserving of a high rating? Yes, he is. For my money, he should be a top 3 left wing in the league. He is still that good and has been that good over that amount of time. Again, he was someone else who had some really wonky body checking and defensive awareness ratings. I'm glad he doesn't anymore, or at least never did. And there was the weird freaking deal, like I mentioned. But yeah, Gaudreau, deserves to be in that top 10, as does Kyle Connor. I'm glad to see, much like with Dallas and Jason Robertson not getting overlooked, Kyle Connor wasn't overlooked as well. It'd be very easy to overlook somebody who plays for the Winnipeg Jets at this stage, but he is very much in contention. I would argue for a top 4 left wing spot, certainly top 10. This is kind of the low end where you could have put him, and obviously you got quite a few guys with the same rating, so you could argue, hey, he's actually number 7, and that would be a little bit more fitting. The good news is, though, throughout that top 10, and really throughout this back half here, there's not too many people, like I said, and we can go actually look at the top 10 again. Everybody here should be on the top 20. Again, from my money, the highest overrated player, though, at this stage is Brady Tkachuk. I can't really see him being in the top 10 at this stage, but it's good that Philip Forsberg is there, for example. Absolutely deserves to be. Jesper Bratt's also kind of in that Brady Tkachuk role of really good season last year, hasn't proven it consistently. I don't think that he should never have an 88 overall. Do I think it's a little bit early right now? Yes, I think there are other players kind of in that mix. And to give examples of other players in that mix here as we go down and go through, and of course, we'll have to look at the right wingers as well. Of course, we clicked on Pavel Buchnevich earlier. I wasn't actually sure if Alex DeBrincat was there. He's listed as a right wing instead of a left wing, which is good. But a name for the left wing side that really stands out, and some people might be like, LOL, but Chris Kreider has proven himself more consistently than Jesper Bratt. And that's because, again, Jesper Bratt's only 25 years old. He's growing into the league and growing alongside the Devils as they continue to improve. And he's a big part of that. Should he be higher rated than a Chris Kreider at this stage? Should he be higher rated than the biggest notable name not on either side? Nick Ehlers, whatever you prefer. No. He shouldn't. And again, there are I don't even want to, can you even call it a legacy rating if it's a new rating? I like Jesper Bratt a lot, but there are some players, Claude Giroux as well. Maybe they consider him a center still. There are some players that are not on this list in the top 40 wingers that should be on the list. I digress. Jake Gensel, kind of surprised he has a gold when Kaprizov doesn't. Does Jake Gensel belong in the top 20? Yes. Yes, he does. Jonathan Huberdeau, despite the largest points drop-off in NHL history, does he belong on the list? Yes. Yes, he does. Because, again, while last year was bad, prior to that, he had a 115-point season, if I'm not mistaken. So, one of those things where he does deserve to be there. But you notice, it's like, oh, okay, he didn't really keep the legacy rating. They dropped him a bit. That's good. You could be reactionary a little bit. You want to be super reactionary. You can be reactionary a little bit. Gabriel Landeskog, obviously it's a tough situation. He's going to miss the entire season. Absolutely gave his body as the captain of the Avalanche to win that Stanley Cup. Don't know if we'll ever see him play again. If he were to be in the game, that's about right. If not, a little bit high, honestly, in some regards, as to how he was playing prior to that. But given the ratings of some of these other guys, then yeah, he might as well be an 88 if some other people are 90 plus. Jonathan Marchessault. I don't know why he's here. Vegas winning the cup, I think, is why he's here. He is very, very good. Is he top 20? It's debatable. Again, I'm gonna throw out the Chris Kreiders of the world. Gonna throw out, again, the Nick Ehlers of the world, and so on and so forth, who could have ended up on this list. It is good to see, and by the way, I have the 2 abilities there. Of course, you guys can look at the site. It's on EA's Twitter. Carter Verhaeghe, very much in the top 20. No debate there. Good. Zach Hyman, very much in the top 20. No debate there from me either. Nor is there with Kevin Fiala or JT Miller. I know Canucks fans hate JT Miller, but, over a point per game is typically where he's at, and he very much deserves to be on this list as well. I am surprised they didn't rate him more highly. I think they would have if they wouldn't be accused of Vancouver bias for doing so, although I do think that rating is pretty much right on the money. So for the most part, again, just the way I tend to go about things, there's only 3, maybe 4 players on that list out of the top 20 that I think shouldn't be there or be rated as highly. Well, I guess it'd be more if you consider the ones that I think are rated too high. But compared to past years, we're off to a really good start because the rosters in the past have been a nightmare, an absolute disaster. As we get to that right wing side, number 1 is David Pastrnak at a whopper 95 overall. Again, for my money, Jason Robertson is the most complete and best overall winger in the NHL today. I, again, will not complain about David Pastrnak being a 95, but how do you think they get him there? 93 defensive awareness, 90 stick checking. Apparently, he just absorbed the abilities of Patrice Bergeron once Bergie retired. It drives me nuts. It really, really does. Pastrnak should be one of the highest rated players in the game. For my money, he's top 3 on the wing. Him, Robertson, and Kaprizov should be the top 3 at this stage. But how they get him up to that 95 is just crazy. Nikita Kucherov, probably a future Hockey Hall of Famer at this stage. Let's be honest, the hardware that he's won, championships, 94 overall is very much in the Artemi Panarin category. He is still very good. I think I'd take him over Panarin at this stage. Is he top 10? Absolutely. Is he the second best right wing in the NHL right now? For my money, no. He's close, but again, 89 defensive awareness, 95 stick checking. It's the same old thing. Again, for me, Kucherov, a bit too highly rated. Really, I mean, I don't know what the is. There we go. Let's bother your cat if you have one. Mikko Rantanen at a 93. You could swap those two. You could. Mikko Rantanen, top 5 winger in the NHL right now. He is absolutely phenomenal. Deserving of that rating of at least a 90 plus. So I can't really disagree with it given how they're rating other players. Absolutely should be there. Mitch Marner, absolutely in the top 10 conversation. You can argue the top 5. I would have him in the top 5 on the right wing. I can't disagree with number 4. For my money, I would have Matthew Tkachuk as a right wing, so he'd also be in that mix. But yeah, Mitch Marner, top 5, no doubt about it. He is phenomenal, especially too with the way his defensive game has rounded out. You can't disagree with that. Mark Stone, speaking of defensive game, still very, very good. Just outside the top 5 for me is where I'd have him. So given that Tkachuk's the left wing, Mark Stone top 5, I'm good with it, man. He deserves it. I don't really think it's an artificial boost because they won the cup. He is that damn good. And as the captain of the Golden Knights, no real surprise to see him there in the top 5. Carolina fans are going to hate this. Andrei Svechnikov should not be in the top 10. Andrei Svechnikov should not be in the top 20. And that will ruffle some feathers. And if he is in the top 20, it is very, very close. I mentioned the Claude Giroux of the world, the Nick Ehlers of the world. Matt Zuccarello is someone who's not in the top 20 on this, if I'm not mistaken. That is absurd to me. There's some players. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily have Travis. I'd swap him with Travis Konecny and put Konecny off the list at this stage. I do not see how Andrei Svechnikov could possibly be rated as the 6th best right wing in the game, or at least in this trio of players at an 89 overall. Just no. Just no. What's my justification? Just no. Look at the stats. Look at the analytical side of things. Watch the games if you want. He is good. I do think he could be that good in the future. Is he that good right now? No, he is not. He is not William Nylander, who is absolutely deserving of that top 10 conversation. I personally would put him in the top 10 at this stage. There's just no other way around it. Those two having the same ratings, I don't get how you end up there. That said, Andrei Svechnikov should be higher rated than this guy right here. Holy legacy rating Batman. Patrick Kane, another future Hockey Hall of Famer. He is not this anymore. He is not. That is just a fact. He is not 87 defensive awareness good anymore. That is just a fact. This is one of the stronger legacy ratings I have seen in a long, long time. This is right up there with like 93 overall Drew Doughty from a couple of years ago. This is bad. This is brutal. That is stupid. And I'd be embarrassed. I would be. Because for anybody who's not a violent homer, they would be able to say, yeah, Patrick Kane is not this anymore. If you're gonna give Patrick Kane a legacy rating, make him a 95 because he's a Hockey Hall of Famer. Fuck it. He's just not that anymore. He's not, and it takes younger players out of the spotlight or other veterans that are still good out of the spotlight, where someone might look at this list and be like, "Oh, I'm not as familiar with that person. Let me look him up," because Patrick Kane shouldn't be there anymore. He shouldn't. Pavel Buchnevich should. Pavel Buchnevich is fantastic. I'd also count him as a left wing, and I'd count him as someone who could be a top 5 left wing. He is in that conversation. He is that damn good. The Blues absolutely fleeced the Rangers by getting him. He is a tremendous, tremendous player. His defensive game is also much, much better than a frickin' 88. He has a 1 point advantage on defensive awareness compared to Patrick Kane. This doesn't ruin my life. This doesn't ruin my day. I'll move on with my day just fine after this. It's all good. But I would be embarrassed if it was my job, and it's not, but I would be embarrassed if it was my job to hand in the homework and say, here's the information, let's plug it in. And my deduction of skill level was that Pavel Buchnevich has 1 defensive awareness point more than Patrick Kane. I would be embarrassed. I am fully aware of what goes into the job, how much there is to cover. I'm fully aware of their process, the frickin' software that they use to input everything. I've seen it with my own eyes, all 4 of them. It's just, it's so gross. It is. It's just not good. It's not good. It's not as good as it could be. It's not as good as it should be. It wouldn't matter. I mean, regardless of the argument, you're just wrong at this stage for having it even be that close. Pavel Buchnevich is awesome. Joe Pavelski is awesome. Somebody else who is right there in that top 10 consideration, so I have no problem with him being in the top 10. Even at 39 years old, he is still an absolute monster for the Dallas Stars, so good on you, Joe Pavelski. We get to the back half here, the 11 through 20. Jordan Kyrou also in that conversation as somebody who, you know, could be in the top 10. I would have him more in that top 20 range. Definitely ahead of Andrei Svechnikov, even if by a little bit. It is good to see Jordan Kyrou getting some respect. It's good to see Alex Tuch getting some respect. He is right there in the mix as someone who deserves consideration to be considered a top 10 right wing in the NHL right now. He has been tremendous. Patrick Laine. He belongs in the 11 to 20s. That's where I'm going to leave it at this stage. He belongs in this range. If there was an argument for higher or lower, mine would be for lower, but he belongs in that range. Tyler Toffoli, same thing. Belongs in that range. There's a debate to be had, but he belongs around where he is. Same for Troy Terry. Can't disagree with it at all. Perfectly fine. ADB, even though I'd have him as a left wing, deserves to be in the top 20, regardless of what side he's on. Absolutely agree with that. Timo Meier. Top 5 left wing? I know he wasn't very good in the back half of the regular season for the Devils. I would have him no lower than 6th on the left wing spot, and instead they have him as someone in the mix, but with all the 87s, but technically 17th at right wing. I'd like to see the justification for that. Cole Caulfield. I like Cole Caulfield a lot. I do. He's so good, and I'm rooting for his success. That is too much too soon. Especially the lack of games, the defense. It's too much too soon. Vladimir Tarasenko, legacy rating. I'm not saying he deserves to be dropped to a 78, but another couple of points, and he should not be in the top 20. Like I said, there are other guys. I named a few of them earlier. We'll name a few more at this stage. I do want to say, again, with guys like Jesper Bratt, they're close. I would have Jesper Bratt probably in that, this range here where Tarasenko is. Tarasenko, was worthy of a 92 not all that long ago. He's not that anymore. Thank God he's not closer to it. It's just crazy to me that we are missing guys like Sam Reinhart, who was more deserving of a spot than Vladimir Tarasenko or Travis Konechny, for that matter. Zach Hyman is not on the list. Nick Schmaltz, Drake Batherson, Matt Zuccarello, Claude Giroux, one of the best two-way forwards in the NHL, nearly a point-per-game player last year, bit of a fucking weirdo. Valeri Nichushkin deserves to be in this top 20 consideration. Nick Ehlers, like I said, is the most egregious example of somebody that's missing at this stage. It's not bad for the wingers compared to what it used to be. It could have been a hell of a lot worse. I still think they have a long way to go with how they view certain players, and certainly with the frickin' attributes, man. We so desperately need a change to that system. And I continue to preach that, and will continue to preach that. And hopefully my voice, your voices as well can be heard. That's what I'm here to do in regards to the whole EA connection, is like, hey, what do you guys want to see from the game? Oh, I go tell them. That's what I've been doing for the past 5 years. And it's worked in regards to some things, major, minor. It hasn't worked yet in regards to others, but that doesn't mean that we should give up on the idea of demanding that this game be better. And this is one of the ways that the game can be better. Hopefully it gets there soon. But with that, I am intrigued to know what you guys think. I know there will be calls of hot takes from me for names I mentioned that aren't on the list, and I'm perfectly fine with that. I know how I get to my conclusions about who good players are, and I'm sure you get to conclusions on your own and in your own way, and that's perfectly fine. You're wrong, but it's perfectly fine. Kidding. Or am I? I'll see you guys when they release the centers, the defensemen, the goalies, maybe all three at the same time. We'll see what happens. This is good, but please be better.